بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم۔ ناظرین، آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں وائس آف ٹورانٹو ٹیلی ویژن، اور میرا اور آپ کا ساتھ رہتا ہے ایوری فرائیڈے کو پرائم ٹائم ود انجم ملک کے ساتھ۔ آپ یہ پروگرام دیکھتے ہیں رات 8 بجے، اور آئی ہوپ ایوری ون از ڈوئنگ ویل۔ ناظرین، آج خاص طور پہ جو پروگرام ہے اس کی ڈیٹیل میں جانے سے پہلے میں صرف دو ایک چیزوں کو ری ایٹریٹ کر دوں کہ وائس آف ٹورانٹو ٹیلی ویژن جو ہے یہ آپ سارے آئی پی باکسز پہ دیکھتے ہیں، آپ فیس بک پہ دیکھتے ہیں لائیو، اس کو یوٹیوب پہ آپ دیکھتے ہیں۔ آپ اس پروگرام کو دیکھا کریں اور اس کو آپ شیئر بھی کریں اور اپنی فیملی کے ساتھ ان کو بھی بتائیں۔ اگر آپ بزنس کمیونٹی سے تعلق رکھتے ہیں اور آپ چاہتے ہیں کہ آپ کے بزنس کی تفصیل جو ہے ہم بہتر طریقے سے ناظرین تک پہنچا سکیں، تو یہ پلیٹ فارم آپ کے لیے حاضر ہے۔ وی ہیو اسپیشل پیکیجز اویلیبل۔ آپ ہمیں پروگرام کے بعد کال کر سکتے ہیں۔ ہماری آپ ویب سائٹ پہ جا سکتے ہیں www.votmedia.ca، اس پہ ساری انفارمیشن اویلیبل ہے۔ اور ہمارے اسٹوڈیوز کی لائن کا نمبر ہے 9056704114۔ اس پہ آپ کال کر کے ہمارے سے انٹریکٹ کر سکتے ہیں۔ پروگرام کے بعد اگر آپ ہم سے بات کرنا چاہیں، اسی نمبر پہ آپ ہمیں کال کر سکتے ہیں، اور ڈیورنگ دا پروگرام اگر آپ انٹریکٹ کرنا چاہتے ہیں تو آپ ہمیں اسٹوڈیوز میں لائیو کال کر سکتے ہیں 9056704114 کے اوپر۔ ہمارا سوشل میڈیا ہینڈل ہے @voiceoftoronto.tv۔ ناظرین، آج کا جو پروگرام ہے، آج اکتوبر 29 ہے، اور سب سے پہلے تو ویلکم بیک اگین ٹو آل آف یو، اے ویری گڈ ایوننگ ٹو ایوری ون ہو از واچنگ اس آن وائس آف ٹورانٹو ٹیلی ویژن۔ اکتوبر 27 جو ہے وہ ہر سال پاکستان میں کشمیریوں کے ساتھ ایک سالیڈیرٹی کا دن منایا جاتا ہے۔ جو ہیومن رائٹس کی وہاں پر وائلیشنز ہو رہی ہیں، کتنے آلموسٹ 50 سال 60 سال ہو گئے ہیں اس پوری چیز کو، اور اس سے بھی زیادہ بلکہ۔ اور پاکستان نے بہت دفعہ اس حوالے سے بہت سارے ایسے معاملات اٹھائے بھی ہیں یونائٹڈ نیشنز کے اندر بھی اور دوسرے پلیٹ فارمز کے اوپر بھی، کہ کشمیریز جو ہیں ان کو سیلف رائٹ ڈٹرمنیشن جو ہے وہ ملنا چاہیے۔ اس حوالے سے ہمارے پاس ایک ڈاکومنٹری ہے، آج خاص طور پہ ہم آپ کے ساتھ شیئر کریں گے۔ اور اگر آپ ڈیورنگ دا پروگرام اگر آپ کشمیری بیک گراؤنڈ سے تعلق رکھتے ہیں، کشمیر کا آپ کا تعلق ہے، آپ کینیڈا میں رہتے ہیں، تو ہم ضرور چاہیں گے کہ آپ ہمارے ساتھ انٹریکٹ کریں۔ ہمارے اس لائیو پروگرام کے اندر آپ ہمیں دیکھ رہے ہیں، اور اسٹوڈیوز میں کال کر کے ہم آپ کی لائیو کال لے سکتے ہیں، آپ سے بات کر سکتے ہیں، اور آپ کے سینٹیمنٹس جو ہیں اس حوالے سے اس کو ہم آبویسلی اس پلیٹ فارم کے اوپر شیئر کر سکتے ہیں۔ تو دیٹ از نمبر 1۔ نمبر 2 یہ کہ جیسے آپ کو علم ہے کہ کینیڈا میں اب جو ویکسین پاسپورٹس ہیں اس کے حوالے سے کافی دن بدن بتدریج چینجز آ رہی ہیں۔ بزنسز کھل رہے ہیں، ریسٹورانٹس کھل رہے ہیں، مارکیٹس کھل رہی ہیں، اور زیادہ لوگ جو ہیں وہ اس وقت جو ہیں وہ آلموسٹ 85 to 90% لوگ ویکسینیٹ ہو چکے ہیں۔ کچھ لوگ ابھی بھی اینٹی ویکسرز ہیں جو ابھی ویکسینیشن جنہوں نے نہیں لگوائی، لیکن جنرلی ہو یہ رہا ہے کہ اگر آپ ٹریول کرنا چاہتے ہیں تو آپ کے پاس ڈبل ویکسینیشن ہونی چاہیے۔ اور اس وقت ایسا کوئی پاسپورٹ اویلیبل نہیں ہے کہ جو آپ کو فزیکلی طور پہ جا کے دکھانا ہے۔ واٹ یو نیڈ ٹو ڈو از کہ آپ کے پاس PCR ٹیسٹ ہونا چاہیے 72 آورز بیفور ڈپارچرز، اور وہ آپ کو ایئر لائن کو دکھانا ہوتا ہے۔ دیٹس اے مسٹ کہ اس کا نیگیٹو آپ کا PCR کا ٹیسٹ ہے، اور ڈبل ویکسینیشن جو ہے وہ آپ کا ہوا ہے۔ اگر آپ کئی لوگ ایسے بھی ٹریول کر رہے ہیں جنہوں نے ویکسینیشن نہیں بھی لگوائی ہوئی، لیکن ان کا PCR کا ٹیسٹ جب نیگیٹو ہوتا ہے تو ایون دین دے آر فٹ ٹو ٹریول، اس پہ ان کو روکا نہیں جاتا۔ لیکن الٹیمیٹلی بعد میں یہ ہونے جا رہا ہے کہ جو لوگ ابھی اینٹی ویکسرز ہیں جنہوں نے ویکسینیشن نہیں لگوائے ہوئے، ultimately the government is going to come up with some strict laws to travel کہ جب تک آپ کے پاس ویکسین پاسپورٹ نہیں ہوگا، and that could be in a form of a chip in the passport, could be a card that the government can issue which will be recognized throughout the world جب آپ ٹریول کر رہے ہوں گے، تو اس کو وہ ویکسین پاسپورٹ کا نام انہوں نے دیا ہے۔ ابھی وہ ایک انیشل سٹیجز پہ ہے، اس کے کوئی حتمی ابھی کوئی ایک فگر سامنے نہیں آئی، اس کی ڈیزائن کیا ہوگا، کس طرح ہوگا، بٹ آئی تھاٹ کہ خاص طور پہ میں اس حوالے سے بات کرتا چلوں کہ اگر آپ ٹریول کر رہے ہیں تو یو نیڈ ٹو انڈرسٹینڈ کہ ایئرپورٹ کے اوپر سوئچ ہیلتھ ایک کمپنی ہے، اس کو آپ کانٹیکٹ کر سکتے ہیں، اور بلکہ اور بھی لائف لیب ہے اور بہت ساری ایسی لیبز اویلیبل ہیں جہاں پر آپ جا کے 72 آورز بیفور اپنا ٹیسٹ کرا سکتے ہیں اور نیگیٹو رزلٹ کے ساتھ آپ ٹریول کر سکتے ہیں۔ اگر آپ ایئرپورٹ پہ ہیں تو ایئرپورٹ ٹرمینل پہ وائی کاؤنٹ پارکنگ جو ہے وہاں پر ان کے بوتھس اویلیبل ہیں، اور آپ وہاں جا کے بھی ٹیسٹ کروا سکتے ہیں۔ जैसे आपको पता है कि ये आज अक्टूबर 29 है और ये हॉलोवीन वीकेंड भी है और आ रहा है 31 को, तो उस हवाले से भी थोड़ी सी आगे चल के बात करेंगे। मैं चाहूँगा कि एक जो हमने एक डॉक्यूमेंट्री आपके लिए बनाई है वो आप उसको ज़रूर देखें और उस डॉक्यूमेंट्री के बाद फिर हम प्रोग्राम में वापस आते हैं और फिर आपसे बहुत सारी बात करेंगे। आप देख रहे हैं वॉइस ऑफ टोरंटो टेलीविज़न और मैं हूँ आपका मेज़बान अंजुम मलिक, प्राइम टाइम टेलीविज़न को। थैंक यू सो मच।
The grisly day of October 27th, 1947 brought grief and sorrow for the people of Jammu and Kashmir when expansionist and colonial India, in violation of the principles of the Partition Act 1947, unlawfully annexed the state. Kashmiris across the line of control and all over the world observed this day as Black Day every year to remind the world community in general and the United Nations in particular of their promise made to Kashmiri people. The United Nations Security Council adopted several resolutions granting the right to self-determination to the people of Kashmir. India duly signed on the resolutions and made solemn commitment to fulfill the promise of holding a plebiscite in the occupied state. However, after some time, New Delhi backtracked from its promises and started claiming that Jammu and Kashmir was its integral part. India started state terrorism in the occupied territory to crush Kashmiri's legitimate freedom struggle with use of brute force, which has resulted in the martyrdom of nearly 100,000 innocent Kashmiris. Human rights abuses at the hands of Indian occupation forces in Jammu and Kashmir range from mass killings and forced disappearances, torture, rape and sexual abuse to political repression and suspension of freedom of speech. The Indian Army, Central Reserve Police Force, Border Security Force and other law enforcement agencies' personnel have been committing severe human rights abuses against Kashmiri population with complete impunity enjoyed under the Kashmir-specific draconian laws. From January 1989 till the end of August 2021, over 95,800 innocent Kashmiris have been killed by trigger-happy Indian troops in acts of state terrorism, out of which over 7,100 were custodial killings. As a result of Indian atrocities, over 22,000 Kashmiri women have been widowed and over 100,000 children orphaned. During the past 32 years, Indian occupation forces arrested more than 162,000 Kashmiris and over 110,000 houses and shops were completely destroyed or badly damaged. During this period, savage Indian Army personnel also gang raped and molested over 11,240 women of all age groups. Pakistan government recently presented a detailed dossier to expose Indian war crimes and human rights violations in illegally Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The evidence clearly suggested India was operating 5 training camps in Gulmarg, Raipur, Jodhpur, Chakrata, Anuppur and Bikaner. Pakistan believes that by injecting these state-trained ISIS fighters, India may try to establish linkages of freedom movement with international terrorism in order to malign the freedom struggle and to justify its own crimes as counter-terrorist operations.
New Delhi has also embarked on what it ominously calls the final solution for Jammu and Kashmir dispute. It has undertaken a series of illegal and unilateral measures in occupied Jammu and Kashmir since 5th August 2019. It has unleashed a reign of terror by an occupation force of 900,000. It has jailed senior Kashmiri leadership, imposed a clampdown on media and internet, violently suppressed peaceful protest, abducted 13,000 young Kashmiris and tortured hundreds of them. It has extrajudicially killed hundreds of innocent Kashmiris in fake encounters and imposed collective punishments by destroying entire neighborhoods and villages. We had unveiled a detailed dossier on gross and systematic violations of human rights by the Indian security forces in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This repression is accompanied by illegal efforts to change the demographic structure of the occupied territory and transform it from a Muslim majority into a Muslim minority. Indian actions violate the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council on Jammu and Kashmir. They clearly prescribe, the resolutions clearly prescribe that the final disposition of the disputed territory should be decided by its people through a free and impartial plebiscite held under the UN auspices. India's action in occupied Jammu and Kashmir also violate international human rights and humanitarian laws, including the Fourth Geneva Convention, and amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity.
The use of pellet guns in Jammu and Kashmir to disperse peaceful protesters is categorically a war crime. India first started using pellet-firing shotguns against Kashmiris in 2010, but the matter hit international prominence in 2016 when protests following the martyrdom of Burhan Wani resulted in thousands of injuries, the blinding of hundreds, and deaths of over 70 people. Pakistan has time and time again reiterated its stance on all international forums and has highlighted Indian brutalities in Kashmir to the world to act and end Indian atrocities by immediate implementation of United Nations resolutions.
Welcome back viewers. आपने अभी एक डॉक्यूमेंट्री देखी और इसमें बड़े दिल हिला देने वाले आपको बहुत सारे ऐसे मनाज़र नज़र आए होंगे जहाँ पर पैलेट गन्स का इस्तेमाल हो रहा है इंडिया में, और एक अंदाज़े के मुताबिक कोई 98,000 जो लोग हैं शहीद हो चुके हैं, और इसके अलावा जो फोर्स ऑक्यूपेशन है वो मुसलसल चल रही है। वहाँ हज़ारों की तादाद से जो आर्मी है वहाँ डिप्लॉयड है। कर्फ्यू वहाँ कर्फ्यू जैसा माहौल होता है, वहाँ पर लोग बाहर निकल के काम नहीं कर सकते। और इस मसले को यूनाइटेड नेशन के अंदर भी प्राइम मिनिस्टर इमरान खान ने बड़े एक आई वुड से स्ट्रॉन्ग वर्ड्स के साथ कंडेम भी किया था जब वो वहाँ यूनाइटेड नेशन की उसमें गए थे कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर। और हमारे जो फॉरेन मिनिस्टर हैं उन्होंने भी इसके बारे में बहुत दफ़ा बात की है। आई थिंक द नीड ऑफ टाइम इज़ कि पूरी दुनिया जो इस पूरे मामले को जैसे देख रही है, जैसे यूनाइटेड नेशंस जो हैं उसके पास इख्तियारात हैं कि वो इंटरवीन कर सकती है, और इंटरवीन करके ये जो मामलात हैं इनको बेहतर किया जा सकता है, और वहाँ पर ये जो ब्लड शेड हो रहा है इसको रोका जा सकता है। ह्यूमन राइट्स जो वायलेशंस हो रही हैं उनको बंद किया जा सकता है। जो वहाँ किलिंग्स हो रही हैं, जो एक्स्ट्रा जुडिशल किलिंग जिसको बोलते हैं, उनको रोका जा सकता है। यंगर लॉर्ड्स जो हैं, जो यंगर लोग जो हैं मर रहे हैं, और एंड दिस इज़ बिन गोइंग ऑन फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम। आई थिंक पूरी दुनिया एज अ होल जब इस चीज़ को देखती है, और जब इंडिया को आप देखते हैं कि एक सेकुलर मुल्क का होने का वो दावा करते हैं, लेकिन वहाँ पर जो उनके अपने लोग हैं वो एक ऐसी रजीम के साथ रह रहे हैं ऑक्यूपाइड एक एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर कि दैट दे डोंट हैव एनी फ्रीडम, दे डोंट हैव एनी राइट्स टू मूव अराउंड एंड टू डू थिंग्स, एंड वी ऑल कंडेम दैट टू द फुलेस्ट। मैं ये भी चाहूँगा कि अगर आपने ये डॉक्यूमेंट्री देखी है और अगर आपका ताल्लुक़ कश्मीर से है और अगर आप कनाडा में रहते हैं, अगर आप हमारा प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं, तो आप अपने ज़रूर सेंटिमेंट्स हमारे साथ ज़रूर शेयर करें कि ग्राउंड रियलिटीज़ क्या हैं, ग्राउंड ज़ीरो की जो रियलिटीज़ हैं वो क्या हैं। और हमारे स्टूडियोज़ के लाइन का नंबर है 9056704114 पे आप हमें कॉल करके हमसे बात कर सकते हैं। अगर आप हमें फ़ेसबुक पे देख रहे हैं तो आप फ़ेसबुक पे भी हमें मैसेज कर सकते हैं, एंड वी विल ट्राई टू आंसर यू। I can see there are a lot of people watching us on the Facebook right now as well. डॉक्टर साहब मज़र मोंगा साहब हमें देख रहे हैं। सर आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। अगर आप कुछ कहना चाहें कश्मीर के हवाले से तो ज़रूर हमें कॉल करके इंटरेक्ट कीजिए हमारे साथ। अपने कुछ सेंटिमेंट्स हैं वो हमारे साथ आप शेयर कर सकते हैं हमारे स्टूडियोज़ के लाइन पे कॉल करके। 9056704114 हमारे स्टूडियोज़ के लाइन के नंबर हैं। पाकिस्तान मुसलसल 3 मैच जीत चुका है। दैट्स बड़ी खुशाइन बात है। अफ़गानिस्तान को भी उन्होंने हरा दिया, اور دیٹ واز اے گریٹ میچ ایز ویل. اور اب آنے والے جو میچز ہیں اس میں پاکستان کی جو بڑھتری ہے آلموسٹ آئی تھنک پوائنٹس وائز پاکستان 3 میچ جیت چکا ہے, تو پاکستان کے چانسز جو ہیں وہ بہت اچھے ہیں T20 کپ کو جیتنے کے لیے, جو کہ دبئی میں ہو رہا ہے. میں دو ایک چیزیں جس کی خاص طور پہ وضاحت کرتا چلوں کہ ہم ایز اے وائس آف ٹورانٹو ٹیلی ویژن ہم ایکسپینڈ کر رہے ہیں, جیسے آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ ہم بہت سارے نئے پروگرامز لے کے آ رہے ہیں آپ کے لیے, اور اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ہم ایکسپینڈ کر رہے ہیں امپلائمنٹ کے لیے بھی. وی آر لوکنگ فار اباؤٹ 3 مارکیٹنگ پروفیشنلز who can call us after our show to our studio line, and or send us your resume on our email, which is voiceofTorontoTV@gmail.com پہ آپ ہمیں اپنا ریزومے بھیج سکتے ہیں. اینڈ you need to be speaking اردو, انگلش, پنجابی, اس طرح کی لینگویجز جو ہیں آپ کو آنی چاہیے. دس گڈ پیکیج فار سیلری اینڈ ایئر ٹائم مارکیٹنگ کا کام ہے. یو نیڈ ٹو بی موبائل, آپ کے پاس گاڑی ہونی چاہیے. گیٹ ان ٹچ ود اس فار دیٹ. اور ہماری جو انفارمیشن ہے وہ ہماری اسکرین کے اوپر ہے, آپ دیکھ سکتے ہیں. یو کین کال اس اینڈ بی اے پارٹ آف وائس آف گروئنگ ٹیم آف وائس آف ٹورانٹو ایز ویل. اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ہم نے جو بہت سارے نئے پروگرام شروع کیے ہیں اور جو ہم اب ریکارڈ کرنے جا رہے ہیں, اس میں 2-3 چیزیں جو ہیں میں آج آپ کو بتاتا چلوں کہ ایک تو ویمن پاور پہ پروگرام ہے. ہم چاہتے یہ ہیں کہ اس کینیڈا میں رہتے ہوئے یہاں پر بہت ساری ایسی چیزیں ہیں, بہت سے ایسے معاملات ہیں جن کو ایڈریس کرنے کی ضرورت ہے. اینڈ وی تھاٹ کہ ہم اس طرح کا ایک پروگرام شروع کریں جس میں کہ از ہوسٹڈ بائی ویمنس فرسٹ آف آل. اور ہمارے پاس ایک کال ہے, ہم کال کو لے لیتے ہیں. ہیلو. یس مسٹر سباوی, if you could kindly hold on. Yeah, just hold on, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have with us one of the MVPs and he's going to be with us shortly, inshallah. ہم اس سے بات کرتے ہیں. ہم ایک چھوٹے سے بریک پہ جاتے ہیں اور کچھ ہمارے آپ یہ میسیجز دیکھیے, and then we'll come back to you and we'll talk to you in detail with a lot of new information from the Ford government in regards to the reopening strategies, the vaccine passports, the travel and tourism, and the small businesses. Keep on watching. We'll be back to you in 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
ریل اسٹیٹ خریدتے اور بیچتے وقت کن باتوں کا خیال رکھنا ہے؟ امپورٹنٹ ٹپس فار دا سیلرز اینڈ بائرز. میں اظفر طاہر آپ کے لیے لا رہا ہوں ریلٹرز کیفے, جہاں پر پروفیشنل ریلٹرز اینڈ مارگیج اسپیشلسٹ آپ کے ان تمام سوالوں کے جوابات دیں گے جو آپ جاننا چاہتے ہیں. ریلٹرز کیفے, اونلی آن وائس آف ٹورانٹو ٹی وی.
ਘਰ ਖਰੀਦਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣਾ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਫੈਸਲਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ. ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਬਿਲ, ਇਮਾਨਦਾਰ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਰੀਮੈਕਸ ਰਿਐਲਿਟੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਆਈਐਨਸੀ ਤੋਂ ਟੀਮ ਸ਼ਾਹੀਰਾਜ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ।
They deal in buying and selling of any residential properties like resale, new construction, condominiums and rental apartments.
ਇਹ ਕਸਟਮਾਈਜ਼ ਹਾਊਸਿਸ ਬਣਵਾਉਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਲੰਬਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਨੇ।
ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ-ਨਾਲ ਮਾਰਗੇਜ ਅਪਰੂਵਲ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕੋ ਛੱਤ ਥੱਲੇ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ।
For any real estate or mortgage related services, call Sukhraj Shahiraj or Rupinder Shahiraj. Phone numbers
647-701-7244 647-701-7244
Team Shahiraj.
This is Kubra Ali. I'll be starting a new show, Dil Ki Baatein. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on Voice of Toronto TV.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm your host. I'm bringing you a new show on health and wellness on Voice of Toronto TV. Don't forget to watch on every Wednesday at 9 p.m.
This is Kubra Ali. I'll be starting a new show, Dil Ki Baatein. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on Voice of Toronto TV.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm your host. I'm bringing you a new show on health and wellness on Voice of Toronto TV. Don't forget to watch on every Wednesday at 9 p.m.
This is Kubra Ali. I'll be starting a new show, Dil Ki Baatein. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. only on Voice of Toronto TV.
रियल एस्टेट ज़रूरत भी, इन्वेस्टमेंट भी। रियल एस्टेट खरीदते और बेचते वक्त किन बातों का ख्याल रखना है? इंपॉर्टेंट टिप्स फॉर द सेलर्स एंड बायर्स। मैं असफर ताहिर आपके लिए ला रहा हूँ रियल्टर्स कैफ़े, जहाँ पर प्रोफेशनल रियल्टर्स एंड मॉर्गेज स्पेशलिस्ट्स आपके उन तमाम सवालों के जवाब देंगे जो आप जानना चाहते हैं। रियल्टर्स कैफ़े ओनली ऑन वॉइस ऑफ टोरंटो टीवी।
फ़लस्तीन का जो कॉज है, काफ़ी लोग वहाँ शहीद हो चुके हैं, डिस्ट्रक्शन हो चुकी है।
ये एक बहुत बड़ा तमाचा है पूरी दुनिया के मुंह पर, ह्यूमन राइट्स वालों के मुंह पर।
इंसानी जान की कीमत हर जगह पे सेम है।
खुदा के लिए इंसान को इंसान समझे, बाकी मजहब तो आपका सारा कुछ अपनी जगह पे।
It's always a very emotional.
हम भी बैठ जमा कर रहे हैं फ़लस्तीन भाइयों के लिए।
I think the long weekend will definitely still be in lockdown.
हमारा जो बजट है वो पास हो गया है।
क्या खास ऐसी प्रमोशन आप दे के जा रहे हैं?
फर्स्ट 10 कस्टमर हमारे पास आएंगे।
फर्स्ट 10 कस्टमर
गोल्ड की जो नोट है बिल्कुल फ्री देंगे।
Please stay with us and you are watching Prime Time with Anjum Malik on Friday. वेलकम बैक व्यूअर्स, आप देख रहे हैं वॉइस ऑफ टोरंटो टेलीविज़न और मैं हूं आपका मेज़बान अंजुम मलिक। आपने एक वीडियो देखी हमने एक हमारे ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले, और मैं बात कर रहा था ख़ास तौर पे आज October 27 جو ہے that is been declared as a black day for Kashmiri solidarity پاکستان کے اندر, اور اس حوالے سے بہت ساری
ਘਰ ਖਰੀਦਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣਾ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਫੈਸਲਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਬਿਲ, ਇਮਾਨਦਾਰ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਰੀਮੈਕਸ ਰੀਅਲਟੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ INC ਤੋਂ ਟੀਮ ਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਰਾਜ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ।
They deal in buying and selling of any residential properties like resale, new construction, condominiums and rental apartments.
ਇਹ ਕਸਟਮਾਈਜ਼ ਹਾਊਸਿਸ ਬਣਵਾਉਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਲੰਬਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਨੇ।
ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਾਰਗੇਜ ਅਪਰੂਵਲ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕੋ ਛੱਤ ਥੱਲੇ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ।
For any real estate or mortgage related services, call Sukhraj Shahiraj or Rupinder Shahiraj. Phone numbers
647-701-7244, 647-701-7244.
Team Shahiraj.
ویلکم بیک ویورز. تھوڑا سا ٹیکنیکل گلیچ ہو گیا تھا ٹرانسمیشن کے اندر, تو میری آپ سے بات ہو رہی تھی. خاص طور پہ میں بات کر رہا تھا کہ آپ نے جو ویڈیو دیکھا جو کہ آج کشمیر کے اوپر تھا, اس میں جو انڈین فورسز کی وہاں پر جو بروٹیلٹی اور اس کے بعد وہاں جو پیلٹ گن کا استعمال, اور اس کے ساتھ ساتھ 98,000 لوگ شہید ہو چکے ہیں وہاں پر اتنے سالوں کے اندر. تو یہ چیزیں جو ہیں یہ ہائی لائٹ عمران خان, پرائم منسٹر عمران خان نے اس کو کیے ہیں یونائٹڈ نیشن کے اندر بھی. اگر آپ پروگرام دیکھ رہے ہیں تو میں یہی عرض کر رہا تھا کہ اگر آپ کشمیر سے ہیں, آپ کی بیک گراؤنڈ وہاں سے ہے, تو آپ ہمیں ضرور کال کیجیے اسٹوڈیو میں. 9056704114 ہمارے اسٹوڈیوز کے لائن کا نمبر ہے, اور ہم آپ سے بات کر سکتے ہیں. آپ کے کوئی سینٹیمنٹس ہیں آپ ہمارے ساتھ شیئر کر سکتے ہیں اس کے حوالے سے. اور تو ایک تو یہ. دوسری بات یہ کہ جو ویکسین پاسپورٹ کے حوالے سے میں نے اپنے پروگرام کے اوپننگ میں بات کی تھی, اس کے لیے آج ہم نے خاص طور پہ اپنے اسٹوڈیو میں دعوت دی ہے MPP شریف صباوی صاحب کو, جو کہ ٹریول اینڈ ٹورزم سے جن کا تعلق ہے. تو ان سے بھی ہم ذرا بات کریں گے 2-3 منٹ کے بعد ان ڈیٹیل ان ریگارڈز ٹو کہ فورڈ گورنمنٹ جو ہے ان کی کیا پالیسیز ہیں اس وقت, اور وہ اس کو کیسے آگے لے کے چلنا چاہ رہے ہیں, کیونکہ یہ فیڈرل مینڈیٹ ہے. اور آبویسلی فیڈرل جو ہے گورنمنٹ جو ہے وہ پروونشل گورنمنٹ کے ساتھ کولیبریٹ کر رہی ہے اس حوالے سے. لیکن اس کا ایک اس کی کس قسم کی اس کی شکل ہوگی, وہ پاسپورٹ جو ہوگا وہ آیا کہ آپ کے پاسپورٹ میں امبیڈڈ ہوگا یا وہ آپ کو ایک کارڈ دیا جائے گا, اس حوالے سے ابھی کوئی حتمی فیصلہ نہیں ہوا. لیکن جیسے کہ میں نے اپنی اوپننگ میں آج کہا کہ جب آپ ٹریول کرتے ہیں تو خاص طور پہ اگر آپ ویکسینیٹڈ نہیں ہیں تب آپ نے اپنا PCR کا نیگیٹو ٹیسٹ جو ہے وہ آپ نے کروانا ہے 72 آورز پہلے, اور آپ نے لے کے جانا ہے اور جا کے آپ نے ایئر لائن کو دکھانا ہے. اس کے بغیر پھر آپ فلائی نہیں کر پائیں گے. تو اس چیز کا بڑا احتیاط کیجئے. سوئچ ہیلپ جو ہے ایک کمپنی ہے, اس طرح اور لائف لیب اور دوسری جو لیبز ہیں وہاں پر یہ ٹیسٹ جو ہیں یہ سارے ہوتے ہیں, اور وہاں سے آپ جا کے ٹیسٹ کروا سکتے ہیں 72 آورز بیفور دا فلائٹ. اچھا, اس کے ساتھ ساتھ میں اپنے پروگرام میں یہ بھی عرض کر رہا تھا آج کے خاص طور پہ کہ ہم کرنے جا رہے ہیں 3 نئے مارکیٹنگ پروفیشنلز کو ہائر, اور اس کے لیے اگر آپ کا مارکیٹنگ کا تجربہ ہے, سیلز میں ہیں آپ, تو آپ ہمیں پروگرام کے بعد ضرور کانٹیکٹ کیجئے. اپنا ریزومے جو ہے وہ آپ ہمیں ہماری ای میل ایڈریس پہ voiceoftorontotv@gmail.com پہ بھیج دیجیے, اینڈ دین وی ول کال یو فرام دیئر. So I'll go back without ado to our guest in our studio tonight, MPP Sharif Sabawi, a good friend. He is always here whenever we ask him, and he's with us tonight. A very good evening to you, sir. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Anjum.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you for coming in at the last moment. I really appreciate that. Let's talk about for the time you were here a couple of weeks ago. And as you know, that last Monday was the reopening of the province in full. Not in full, but more restrictions.
Removing restrictions.
Yeah,
yes.
More restrictions were removed.
Yes.
Let's talk about, first of all, what people need to know about those restrictions. What are the restrictions available now? And what were removed as of Monday, 12:01 a.m., that past Monday?
So the restrictions on the number of people indoors, restaurants, indoors of the gyms, like the normal day-to-day life activities almost gone back to normal.
Okay.
I think the only few restrictions still there now is the mask.
Yes.
The distancing.
Yes.
Those are going to stay with us for some time.
For some time, yes.
Just as a precaution.
So let's talk a little bit about in the travel industry and the tourism industry. Anything have been changed in the last 2-3 weeks when we last spoke with you? The government, provincial government, has they came forward with any new plans, any new stimulus packages to help the small businesses?
Yes, there is some grants which start getting distributed on some specific verticals which had some issues with like they got hit very much in the COVID. So those are not big grants, but it's to start stimulating their new operations again.
Right.
The other thing is like the airlines start losing restrictions a little bit. Some of the airlines now accept the vaccination without PCR. It's ongoing. Some do, some don't, but it's in its way out. So hopefully very soon.
This is depending on which country you're going to.
Yes. Yeah. So as soon as I think it's going to be very soon, the vaccination certificate would be the passport to travel.
So when we talk about a passport, if this is something in a works right now that is going to be like a chip embedded into your passport, or you're going to be issued a card that from the federal government that will be acceptable all over the world when you travel as a Canadian passport holder, what is in the works right now?
I think the current certificate, which have a QR on it,
okay,
I think it's built to the standards which is needed by international airports. So this one is basically the federal one, which should be used now and for future to travel to different countries. Yes.
Okay. So those QR codes will be scanned and then you'll be able to access, and that should be okay. Now, in your industry, where you are in travel and tourism industry, what is happening? What people need to know? The hotels, the travel agents, I would say all these vocational travel people. What people need to know, basically, who are kind of listening to you tonight?
I think there's a lot of people who travel usually during winter to Florida or to US to go south, like the snowbirds. There was a lot of discussions around that. There was a lot of questions, emails going about that because they are getting ready to travel. So we did all what we can do in discussions with the American authorities and other jurisdictions and federal to make sure that those guys who travel can travel using their certificates, like vaccination certificates. Within that, there was like multiple things, like the people who got mixed doses, for example, like somebody who got the first AstraZeneca, then got Pfizer, the preparation for the third dose when it comes. Like, this is all ongoing discussions now, but I think we are now ready for the snowbirds to travel.
Okay. What is on the table right now in regards to especially the housing issues at the Queen's Park? That is very, very important thing.
Well, the housing issues is very hot because the housing market is going crazy, as you know.
And there is a report on this which I want to share with you.
Okay.
And the report says, and it is a report by legitimate, organizations who work with the CMHC and all the other. that a lot of these builders, when they go out and they put these new projects, and the report is highlighting that there's a lot of kind of a bribery going on from that perspective, that, you know, with their councillors or the MPPs and all that who are in the House, that they try to bribe those people when they come into Queen's Park and then say, you know what, we need to get this done at your end, and there are no caps on it. I mean, it has been in a report. This was in the report, which I heard
what?
On the radio. I heard the report on the radio, basically.
So no caps on.
Caps means that, the builders, first of all, when they are getting their zoning certificates done from the cities and all those kind of things, they are influencing the government in some way. I don't know how far that's true. You can answer that. And also, like, there are no caps in a way that the builder can ask you for anything, like 1,000 square feet house for $1 million. Like, there is no restrictions on that.
Yeah, but there's none.
I know. So how are we going to tackle with this housing industry in Ontario, and how the younger people is going to go out and afford a house?
Okay.
Forget me and you.
Let me answer first for the first part.
Yeah.
Zoning is not a provincial issue. Zoning is a city issue.
Right.
So any rezoning or changing zoning or getting zones is municipal issue, city issue.
Yeah.
So the only time when the province get involved is when they get MZO, like ministerial zone zoning, and that's always happens only in very few cases. Public interest. So we're gonna rezone that to create community center, or rezone that to create something, or big manufacturing, for example, or on demand of the city itself. Like the city might come and say, to accelerate that, we'd like the ministerial zoning for this, and that will accelerate the issue.
So how far this is true, that report, which I heard on the radio, that all these big builders, Tridal and all those kind of big builders like those names, they do influence, some sort of influence they use on the government to have.
They do influence, or they try to influence, that's a different story. Between they do influence and they try to influence, that's, anyone can try to influence. Like, actually, it is by the Canadian political system allowing lobbyists. So you can go and hire somebody who's lobbying for your cause, your purpose. Okay, so for example, I think, as I heard, the biggest lobbying happened in the Canadian history was for the marijuana. The companies who got hired to lobby to legalize marijuana, they spend tons of money to hire people who do PR, communicate, do round tables, round discussions to do something. But lobbying is part of the system, so it's legal. It's not illegal.
So it's a legal thing that
they have to register as a lobbyist, and he have to declare when he called me. He say, I'm a lobbyist for this company. It's not like, I'm your friend, I would like to meet that. Like, this doesn't happen this way. So it's regulated. And the role of the lobbyist is to make sure to deliver the voice to multiple MPPs or circles of the decision maker, to enlighten them for the point of view of his customer. It doesn't mean that government is going to do that, but at least he is hiring somebody to explain what is the benefits or advantages or disadvantages or whatever.
So what are the steps that the Ford government has taken to work in conjunction with CMHC, with the Real Estate Board of Ontario, that how we can put a lid on this housing crisis in Ontario? I know it's a supply and demand issue, but having said that, if the government allows more houses to be built, right, more subdivisions come into existence, then we will have less problems.
Of course.
So what is on the table with the Ford government for that?
So you answered. we need more supply.
Yeah.
The problem is because of the COVID, because of the lack of the supplies, the building supplies. There was a slowing in the builders side. So now, as soon as we opened, it goes up because there's very high demand when there's so low availability.
Yeah.
So the solution is to have more houses getting built, more subdivisions, exactly what you said. Now, how we will accelerate that, that's another story, okay, because it's private build. Of course, I know that the NDP and the Liberals might come and say we need the government to build affordable housing and. But I think the biggest solution for this is to have more builders coming to the market with building. So being able to give them some incentive to build more, that's something. Giving them some accelerated ways in the permissions and all that stuff, which takes a year at least in any city for a developer to come to breaking ground, like the permissions and zoning and all kind of city stuff. This is all can be accelerated by the municipal, by the provincial, by any other governmental level. I think the biggest, or the discussion was around, as you said, like what about our kids, the first home buyer?
Correct.
Now the first home buyer can be tackled as a separate issue. Like this, the issue of the price of the house or the price is going up, that's an issue. And the new buyers is a different issue. So the new buyer, there could be some solutions for those people, being able to, the government to give them the ability to like insure them to get 5% down payment, or as Mr. Trudeau during the election mentioned that he have a plan to help new buyers, basically loaning them money.
The first-time home buyer.
First-time home buyer. The millennial.
But there is a ceiling that they can go up.
There is a ceiling, of course, because I mean, if you are looking for affordable housing, I don't expect you to go and look for a $2 million house.
Correct.
Like, you know, like if you can afford $2 million
there's
house.
a cutoff there for $500,000 or something.
Yeah, it's good for a condo kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about small businesses.
Okay.
In general.
Yes.
Are there going to be any further stimulus packages for small businesses for them to? I know slowly and steadily we are opening up, and but anything coming? Anything in the works right now?
I don't think there is anything mainstream.
Okay.
But there could be some verticals which we know that they are still struggling, might be getting some kind of special packages. But in general, the business is booming. Like we are in the unemployment levels now as we were before COVID. So that technically speaking tells that we are getting back to the standard workforce, which like if the COVID didn't hit us, we created 300,000 new jobs. So that's basically where we hope to get there very soon.
Okay.
There's shortage in all the workers,
in all sectors,
especially hospitality.
Yeah.
Like the restaurants, lots of restaurants can't find good workers, can't find anybody to start with. Fast foods, all kind of coffee shops, they can't find good number of workers now.
How do you foresee the current government going into 2022, and what is on the agenda that you guys have not done, or it is on there that needs to be looked at on your next mandate when the elections come? What is that something more importantly that needs to be done? That the reason I'm asking this is because there are so many different avenues that we can talk about, but in general, since you are here, so I thought that I would ask you this as an MPP from the Ford government, that what is on the table that needs to be a main driven force for your next election?
I don't know about the next mandate yet. Like, we're still working on the platform and what we're gonna go with during election. But saying that, I would like to touch base into two pieces of legislation which I spoke to. One of them is the new bill from Minister McNaughton, who's the labor and trades, which is basically trying to help removing some of the barriers for the Canadian experience per se,
for foreign,
for the immigrants.
New immigrants, okay.
So basically, it's going to touch about 13 different verticals: technicians and engineering specifically, and construction and hairdressers, chefs and stuff. So you could come here and, as a, let's say, applying for electrician or any other license, and you could have 25 years experience, but you don't have the 2 years Canadian experience. Then you can get the license. I'm not talking about hiring, because there is a lot of dispute about saying, no, I would like to hire somebody who have Canadian experience. It's up to you. If you are an employer, nobody can force you to hire somebody who you're not comfortable that you have the right set of expertise. But to get somebody who's have been licensed and have 20 years experience somewhere, and you say, no, you have to have 2 years of Canadian experience, that means you are stalling him to an entry level somewhere. And the problem with that is, majority of time companies take those guys to give them the 2 years. They take them with like a minimum wage or even no salary at all to give them that 2 years. And if anything happened within the 2 years, they refuse to give him the certificate. So he can't get his license again with all this experience he have. So he has. So I think it's a very, very good piece of legislation which will remove barriers. We have tons of skilled workers in-house here in Canada when we are short in workers, and we are trying to find where we can import or allow workers to come. So might as well deploy this expertise you have in-house. And I think I'm so proud about this one, because I am one of the people who was immigrant 26 years ago. I got this challenge myself, and as I mentioned, this is lost opportunity. This is win-win-win situation, like 3 wins. Win for the immigrants, because he get like a job in his expertise, he can develop his career from there. Win for the employer, who will get skilled worker, can do the job and he can expand his business. Win for the government, because we are creating the environment which inspire and encourage people to work. And of course, when they work, they pay taxes, they spend money. You know, like it's a circle. So we try to stimulate that circle. We try to give them opportunity to get hired as professionals, not as a minimum wage workers. So this one piece of legislation,
so this
very dear to my heart.
So this will remove the restriction when the new immigrant come here. So if they had an experience from back home, it will be deemed acceptable for them to start a job with that experience.
Yes, we are not touching the credentials. The credential is not us; it's the professional associations. Because there was a misunderstanding. Like, I know that one of the journalists in the press conference saying, so you are bringing people from everywhere in the world where we don't know anything about their credentials or how good or bad, and you give them license to practice in Ontario. And I was very, very intimidated by that. So I said, no, we are not getting we are not touching the credentials. That's the professional entities have to do that. And there's also Canadian centralized institute who can verify the credentials, have the stamps, and he know if it's equivalent to Canadian or not equivalent. So not every institute is verified in Canada or accredited in Canada. That's something we don't touch as a government. But I mean, to put some, as I mentioned it's egg or chicken situation. I need you to have 2 years experience, but I'm not going to give you a license to practice. So how this guy can generate those 2 years?
Correct.
Like give him a temporary license, give him a restricted license, give him an assistant license, give him something, then he can generate those 2 years. But you don't ask him to get you 2 years and he have no permission to work.
Right.
And they don't accept observer, they don't accept volunteer, they don't accept, they would like you to work in the same capacity. How are you gonna get that? It's catch 22.
And what's the second one?
The second one, we named it the right to disconnect. So because of the COVID and working remotely, everybody now become working from home. So basically, you are working 24/7. Like your employer can send you an email at 8 o'clock in the evening expecting you to reply to that.
Right.
Because you are online. Like he knows that you are online. He knows that the email got to your phone. Again, some companies or some workers or some managers might try to push different thing, but the employer, we give the employee the right to disconnect, the right to say, I'm not available after 5, I'm not available after 6, and that will allow or protect him from getting penalized for any connection. Like I just would like to say something in here. When I used to work as a network engineer for banking, for the managing banks network. So I'm on pager. Like I lived about 6 or 7 years of my life on a pager, 24/7. So with 24/7 pager, I get paid specific number of hours to carry the pager. I get paid allowance to carry the pager. And if I got paged, I get overtime. Okay. Like if I got paged and I had to drive or I have to make a call or I have to do something, I get paid for that per hour, like overtime. Now is online, like there's no time and overtime, there's work.
Correct.
And your work become in your home. So now how are you gonna protect the employees from getting
differentiate
overbuilt into the work, the balance between the family and the work kind of thing.
Yeah.
So again, that's a visionary because we've seen the change in the work environment, the change on the habits of working, the change of the work remotely because of the COVID, and we are trying to protect the employees.
There was a comment that Premier Ford made a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
There was heated arguments on that from the press. Andrea Horvath and Stephen Del Duca talked about it. What is your take on that?
It's actually misuse of what I was actually inside the chamber when he said that.
Okay.
They keep saying
What
he's
did he
anti-immigrant.
meant by
He
that?
said they keep saying he's anti-immigrant. Actually, Doug Ford didn't say immigrants. He said if you want to come to Ontario, he didn't say immigrants. He said if you want to come to Ontario, be ready to work your tail off.
Yeah.
If you are here to collect doodle, like go somewhere else.
Right.
That's exactly what the statement was.
Right.
Okay.
But he stood by on that statement. They wanted his apology, but he didn't apologize for anything.
Well, I got many emails saying, tell Doug Ford, do not apologize, because that's the two of things. We need immigrants, yes, or we need people to come to Ontario, because Ontario attract people from other provinces, not from immigrants only, like from Alberta and from everywhere, because we have more opportunities. So coming here, meaning you are trying to seek an opportunity, meaning you are willing to work. So I think a lot of people found the comment from Doug.
Maybe sometimes, I mean, he's a good-hearted man, but sometimes the way he says things, it goes into a different context.
Yes, and of course there's a lot of intentions from some specific people to put it into this intentions when he didn't mean that exactly. He didn't talk about immigrants. He said if you are willing to come to Ontario. He didn't talk about immigrants.
Now I'm gonna come to another very important question. One of your caucus MPP have resigned.
Yes,
he was anti-vaxxer.
Yes.
What do you take? What's the take on that for Premier Ford? Because like he left the caucus, and I don't know if he was going to be independent as an MPP or.
I don't know about automatically if he left the caucus and he didn't join any other party, he is going to be independent. That's not.
He still sits there.
Yeah, of course.
Into Queen's Park.
Yes,
but he's not represented by PCs over there.
Yes, he's not part of the BC caucus. Yes.
So what did Premier Ford thinks about that?
I don't think that Premier Doug Ford had anything to do with this one, because
Okay.
I think there was like the statement from the House leader was that she gave misleading information. She said that she was vaccinated. Then afterwards she came back and said, no, I'm not vaccinated, I'm exempted. So there was
Was it
some,
she or was it he?
She.
Oh, it's a she. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the issue, and she decided to resign, and that's up to her.
What do you think with the cabinet that has been announced by Justin Trudeau now, and you have the trade minister, which is transport minister, working with the province. So how, after these elections has happened and they are back in the office again, what sort of, I would say, the relationship does the Premier have with the federal government?
Well, you know, as a professional politicians, we have to work with the federal government no matter what. She's conservative, she's liberal. They like us, they don't like us. There is a professional relationship, and this is critical to be able to function and benefit the people of Ontario. Okay. So we keep this good relation no matter what. And that's what Doug Ford said. Like when they asked him before election, he's saying, what if Justin Trudeau win again? He said, like, we were dealing with him, we will continue dealing with him. So it doesn't matter for us, basically. There is a lot of issues which is like interconnecting. Like we have to work with them hand to hand to get the things done. So they were good during the COVID time, and I think they're gonna keep that, because at the end of the day, it's no partisan in there. This is people's lives, people's matters, business, day-to-day life. I think any government relevant to their party lines are they gonna make sure that people are getting served. That's what we are here for.
Mr. Sababi, what do you think why we have a crime on the rise in Toronto right now? Other than the guns, I mean,
it's a hot night tonight, huh? They are getting a lot of hot topics here.
I mean, you're here, so I might as well ask
you. Yes, it's unfortunate. Like I'm really feeling very sad for seeing that in Canada. Canada have been always very calm, very peaceful. We rarely hear about gun shooting and stuff. There's a lot of gang activities, as
why we have failed over the number of years so far that we can't put a really control on this gang violence in this city?
Very simple, because they have lots of money. They actually draw lots of money through human trafficking, through unauthorized tobacco trade, through marijuana trades, through many aspects of bringing tons of money, and they have lots of money which they can fund to buy weapons and buy stuff. So yes, there's a lot of activity, but the police is cracking on them as much as they can, and they are doing efforts. And I think now there's more and more need for RCMP and OPP and regular local police to work, crime units to work together, because those crimes or those gangs are not focused in one area, they are across, and so actually sometimes they are across province as well.
Yeah, but it's very disheartening to see that, with so much resources that the police have, so much money that has been given to them, the fundings, we still have this so much problem that every weekend you see 4, 5, 6 people die of gunshots.
It is unfortunate,
and it is unbelievable. I mean Canada was not like that before. I mean, I've been here more than 10 years, and I know, like, over the years there have been a lot of issues, but when I look back and I see now that it is on the rise for some reason.
Yes.
And we need to put really a clamp on that to have this thing looked after, because this is one of the things that the Premier should, I would say that he should focus with the mayor, of Toronto, and the police and sit down and work a plan to
I think this is
save
already
lives,
happening.
basically,
Is already
you know.
happening. But again, like we have to understand that there's a lot of authorities of the police have been kind of taking away. They have been because of a lot of groups, pressure groups, who press to change things so that it basically degrade the amount of authorization the police have, and that's, in my opinion, obstructing them from doing their job. Like I was talking to one of the police officers, and he was telling me, like I'm sitting in my car in front of in a plaza parking, in front of a store, and I see another car where somebody is. I know that he's waiting to break into this store, and I can't ask him what you're doing here.
Right.
I can't ask him who you are.
Right.
I can't ask him what are you doing now in this plaza. So the only solution is have to wait until he break in. And he's not going to break in as long as he see a police car in there. He will wait 5 minutes after the police car leaves and break into the store.
Viewers, we have with us MPP Sharif Sabawi, and I'm trying to ask him as many questions I can tonight to put him on a hot seat. But the whole point of having an MPP into the studio is, first of all, to have that interaction where sometimes you can't do it over the phone or on a video call, and also your perspective as well onto things that if you would like to give us a call back at 905-670-4114. If you have a question and would you like to ask the MPP regarding that, you can send us a message on our Facebook, and we can answer you on that as well. Any particular message you have for our community tonight? First of all, thank you again for coming in at the last minute.
You know, Anjum, I always, it's a pleasure to meet you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I really like to address the community, raise awareness with issues, ethic questions, of course, and answer their questionnaires and inquiries. The only thing I can say is we are getting where we hope to get in around COVID. We are opening slowly. We still ask people to keep alerted, stay alerted. If you feel symptoms, report it quickly. If you hear about some breakouts, please be alerted, because we are not finally out of it. We are good, we are better. We see other provinces and other jurisdictions in the world who are still having lots of activity when it comes to COVID. Russia
Alberta
today
is hurting a lot.
Russia today got record losses like 1,300 deaths.
Wow.
Deaths
in one day.
In one day.
Wow.
Something like I think it's 1,300 or something like that, close to that number. So it's we are not out totally, but if we as good citizens kept an eye, kept the hygienes and the practice and keeping distances, stay away of gathering when you can. I'm not saying don't go to the restaurants, but like going to make a parties and stuff, getting crazy, especially with Christmas coming. And I know people love to celebrate because I love celebrating Christmas. But please try to make the numbers under control. Make as much as you can efforts to stay alerted to your surroundings, your distances, and that's how we can continue being in good shape. And we don't have to take, again, any measures to control, because we are not willing to lose I would say the ahead we got with the COVID. So we'll do our best to protect that for the health and the safety of Ontarians.
Mr. Sabawi, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your kind words and your insights on so many things that we just talked about today. We touched. Viewers, this is what one of the fortunate thing that we have here is that now we are out of COVID, and we get the opportunity to have the guests in the studios and have one-on-one interaction. This is a great thing which we've been lacking for last so many months during the pandemic times. We were talking over the phones, on our video calls, and very limited people used to be in the studios, but now things have opened up. So this gives us as a station opportunity to request the MPPs, the ministers, to come in and interact with us and to you as well, and put out all those important details, messages sometime that we don't get to hear from the news channels or from the radios. So this is the whole idea for us to bring you all this. So this is the show for tonight. I'm just going to reiterate a couple of things, that we are looking for at least 3 marketing individuals as we are expanding as a television station. And if you have what it takes to be a marketing individual to sell airtimes, please get in touch with us after the show. Our numbers are there, 905-670-4114. And till next week, मुझे दीजिए इजाज़त, and अपना ख्याल रखें. ज़िंदगी और सेहत ने वफ़ा की तो इंशाल्लाह we'll come back to you again. A very big thank you to Mr. Sawabi again, and also thank you to Mr. Amir Akhtar. He's our technical director. Thank you for that as well, for looking as good as always. And sometimes we have these small, during the transmissions, there's hiccups, sometimes, and then really appreciate that, you guys stick with us and you don't go away from the channel. Thank you so much. I will come back to you next week. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Bye-bye. फ़लस्तीन का जो कॉज है, काफ़ी लोग वहाँ शहीद हो चुके हैं, डिस्ट्रक्शन हो चुकी है.
ये एक बहुत बड़ा तमाचा है पूरी दुनिया के मुंह पर, ह्यूमन राइट्स वालों के मुंह पर.
इंसानी जान की कीमत हर जगह पे सेम है.
खुदा के लिए इंसान को इंसान समझे, बाकी मजहब तो आपका सारा कुछ अपनी जगह पे.
It's always a very emotional.
हम भी बैन जमा कर रहे हैं फ़लस्तीन भाइयों के लिए.
I think the long weekend will definitely still be in lockdown.
हमारा जो बजट है वो पास हो गया है.
क्या खास ऐसी प्रमोशन आप दे के जा रहे हैं?
फर्स्ट 10 कस्टमर हमारे पास आएंगे.
First 10 customers.
गोल्ड की जो नोट है बिल्कुल फ्री देंगे.
Please stay with us, and you are watching Prime Time with Anjum Malik on Friday.